And we're starting. First topic. I want to talk about comic books first. Oh, fuck. Introductions. Welcome to Bite Size Bickering. I'm Gabe.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Vanessa.
And this is my co-host, Liam, who has not been on.
I have officially been on more episodes than Liam has. Maybe you should make me the co-host now.
Okay, here's my new co-host, Jack.
The co-host? Maybe me and Liam can share the duties?
Sure.
Because he was here last time and I wasn't, right?
No.
He provides inspiration.
No,
and you show up.
we have not recorded since the last time you two were here.
Hey,
Oh.
look at that. I thought there was a whole session in between.
Well, I did the math. I found out we did not need to do it.
Cool.
And so, since we record these in bulk, I found out this will be October. Next week will be November. We can record like December in November.
Word.
But
Comic
anyway,
books.
topic, comic books. I read a comic book.
What is it?
Called, I read it because I wanted to find something else
Stop
Archie
beating around
terrible.
the book, Bush. Tell us what
something else Archie terrible, huh?
Well, because of Riverdale,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I want to find something else because I found out the Archie Comics brand, which is their own company, has a branch called Archie Horror,
Oh.
Interesting.
where they have three storylines going on right now, three different issues going on. None of them are connected in any way. They're all their own story, but and I was expecting it to be terrible because Riverdale is.
Terrible.
Well, it's interesting, but it's like bottom line is like it's technically still terrible. It fascinates me, but I know it's bad.
Bottom line, it's technically still terrible.
Although, we have a coworker who really enjoys that show just as much as you do.
I don't enjoy it.
I'm not totally alone, Gabe.
I don't enjoy it. I'm baffled by it. Let me start an actual timer. But so the I read one of their series because they have three. They have what's it? I think it's like Midnight with Jughead. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is like about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and the one I read was Afterlife with Archie. Guess what it's about?
Ghosts.
Archie is
No.
dead.
No. Oh.
No,
Someone Archie loves is dead.
technically. All right, so
Archie is the only man left on Earth.
I'll totally explain what it is, but that last one was a little closer. So precursor. I was only gonna read one issue, and I have read all that are out now. Because it was actually, I found it pretty good and pretty well written. But what happens is, opening scenes is Jughead Jones's hot dog gets hit by a car.
Okay.
And dies. So he takes the dog to Sabrina the Teenage Witch to try to get her to fix it and like heal the dog. But the dog's dead and can't heal a dead dog. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch grabs the Necronomicon. She grabs the
and starts a zombie plague.
Yes. Starts the zombie apocalypse by bringing back the dog to life. The dog goes to Jughead, bites Jughead, and he becomes patient zero.
Technically, the dog is
Technically,
patient
the
zero
dog is
and
patient zero, but
Jughead's patient 1.
Yeah, exactly. But
Epidemiology. Though
and then Jughead bites his parents, and then there's a school dance that night because it's Halloween.
Of course.
And the dance gets attacked by Jughead and 2 other people he's bitten, and Riverdale becomes the outbreak for the zombie apocalypse.
Right on.
Now, here's why I hate the show Riverdale, is that everything is the same level of problem. The second Afterlife with Archie starts, they're like, oh, nothing we cared about before matters because we have new actual problems.
Look at that. That's deeply impressive. I'm
Yeah,
glad
exactly, because I was expecting it to be like the love triangle was still like a pain in the ass thing. And
so what you're telling me is you're expecting it to be Walking Dead.
Kinda, yeah. Like, it still, like, has those dynamics, but now they're way more, like...
That is backburnered to the survival issue.
It's back burner, and also, like, the way they deal with them is better, because... So, in Archie Comics, he has this love triangle where, like, he can't decide between two girls, blah, 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 and then and Betty. Betty Cooper is the one I hate the most on Riverdale. I hate her actress. I don't think I hate the character, I just hate the actress.
Interesting.
But... So he can't choose between these two girls. But in the afterlife with Archie, he chooses. Like, he chooses one, and it doesn't fucking matter. He's not going back to the bullshit. Like, which causes problems for one of the girls, of course.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, I wasn't picked. And that's, like, the issue. But, like, other than that, they're like, well, we're still surviving, so who gives a shit?
Totally.
And then it explores, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, when she resurrects the dog, her aunts banish her to another realm for performing illegal magic.
I feel like that's a reasonable punishment for starting the zombie apocalypse. Like, I'm not big on corporal punishment in those sorts of measures, but I feel like that's a time where it's justified.
I don't want to spoil it, because I think you guys should honestly read this, because I think it's really cool.
Right on.
But, like, needless to say, there's, like, more going on with that. Like, why she gets sent to the Netherrealm than, like, meets the eye. They cover it in, like, one whole issue.
Sure.
And it's pretty cool. Like, it is... Like, you've heard of the show Conrad Detective, right? You and I have talked about that before.
Yeah, I watched
you know
the
how
first
that
episode.
Yeah, you know how that show was pitched, right?
Yeah.
To Channing Tatum was, like, he went to his guys, and he's just like, whoever they are. And he said... Write me something terrible. And that show is fucking brilliant.
Brilliantly terrible.
It's so brilliantly terrible.
Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so quick aside, Comrade Detective is a American-made and produced, modern American-made and produced satire on what they imagine a Soviet-era buddy cop TV show would be. As dubbed in English by Channing Tatum and
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I feel like there's a couple other like big names, but
There,
it's like
the guy who plays Ron Swanson.
yeah, the guy who plays Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman, yeah, that's who it is.
Thanks for the assist there. Yeah, no, it's. I watched the first episode. It's shittily good and goodly shitty. I guess.
Yeah,
like
it's and like the more you watch, it is just so brilliant because it just has like dumb little things like throughout it that like
it's like American culture if it was Soviet culture.
Like
right?
you should totally watch it because we should totally do an episode on it. But it's
I'll
like
watch more of
awesome. But I would highly recommend reading it because they have 2 issues like on separate characters and like what their deal is, and like the concepts are similar to that where it seems like someone went to someone and said, pitch me something shitty and let's make it good.
Totally.
And like because it is good. I found it enjoyable. And like there's one issue I was reading this halfway through and I was like, I think in any other circumstance I would be very mad at this. Because there was one on like the Josie and the Pussycats origin story from this universe. Because like their origin story is different than regular. Because regular is just high school bands, but there's more to meets the eye with them in this, and it's a pretty cool story. Pretty fucking dark. It's one of the darker ones in that series, but pretty fucking good.
So, can I pitch a comic book? Because I wasn't prepared for this at all, but I have a comic book that, or an online...
Go ahead, man.
Okay, it's really short. It's entirely free. It's entirely produced by people whose primary passion is their music. But they happen to have a comic book about their
Ringo Starr's
stage.
MS Paint?
No, it's not. Though I would read the hell out of that. Have you guys heard of the band Steam Powered Giraffe?
Yes, I actually have.
Have you? Okay,
I've heard about it from you, but like I've heard of
Harry.
Not surprising.
But yeah, so they're a wacky steampunk kind of indie folk kind of thing. Don't quote me on that. Look
They
up
have
their-
interesting music.
They've got some good music. But so the two of the three members of the band are brothers. Yeah. The one that was born
Yeah.
female illustrates all of their or who is biologically female, identifying male, illustrates all of it, and I'm pretty sure his brother writes them. And it's about their stage characters and their origin story and all of the wacky, surrealist, steampunk shit that happens in their imaginary, wacky, surrealist steampunk world. And it's... I read the first little bit of it. I was very confused and put it down, but it was still on my internet browser when I wandered back with time to kill at a later point, and I ended up tearing through the entire rest of it just because it hooked me, and it's really not long. I think they've got maybe 6 different, like, books. The long one, the
Right.
first one is pretty decent length, and the other ones are, like,
There's
maybe 6 panels.
a lot of good like free webcomics now.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
I have an app like just dedicated to them. Right?
Right on.
And I just subscribe to a couple, and one is a horror called Sweet Home. The app is called Webtoon because I think like these stories are specific to this app.
True.
But it was like free and whatever, so I just decided to download it one day. And one I'm like really hooked on right now is called Sweet Home, and it's essentially like a zombie outbreak, but instead of people turning into zombies, they turn into these vicious, terrifying, unkillable monsters. And it affects like a certain percentage of the population. I think it's only like a small percent, but because they're like terrifying, unkillable monsters,
Yeah.
The
like
problem doesn't go away.
the problem doesn't go away as much
And
as like
the other percent of the population just gets eaten.
yeah, like the other percent of the population is just trying to survive, like
Sure.
networks and down. You don't actually fully know like what the outside world is going on because right now, like the first lot of issues, so like within the first like 5 seconds of the story, like the main character's like family dies in an unrelated car accident, so he has to live on his own, and this takes place in like South Korea, and so
Word.
he's living on his own in this like cheap, shitty apartment.
Coffin Hotel.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just like everyone within this apartment complex, and like how certain floors have like certain monsters on them. So like the top floor is safe because like they're all like they all grouped together and like got rid of a monster, and then the bottom floor is safe, but then like in between there's all these different things, so like it's literally only taking place within this apartment complex so far. And so like the issue I got on, they're like just trying to venture downstairs is like
That's
the
crazy.
biggest thing. So like I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's fairly well written. So if you happen to be listening, writer of this comic book, great job.
And kudos for finding our podcast, because you're in the early adopter subset of weird things on the internet.
He might be a freak if he's
You
looking
might
at
be
us.
a freak. But then again, so are we. So you found good
That's true. I
Good
did watch
company.
the first episode. I think that makes me a freak. So.
first episode of.
You
This.
Oh,
wait, you watch this shit?
by
I
size
don't.
bickering.
That's garbage.
Who the fuck are those guys?
I like the way Arlen edits the first couple of episodes because you, Layla, and Harry use pseudonyms. And he'll, in the end credits, puts like your pseudonym down. So like the first episode, it's like we got it wrong, but he still put like it was all of us. Then a slow fade into the next like credit scene, which was
It was
and
Layla.
featuring Layla as the
Yeah.
Dark Lord. And then the next one is it also fades into Layla again, but it's like formerly the Overlord of the Universe. The artist formerly known as the Overlord of the Universe, Layla.
Word.
And then for yours, for episode 3, it fades into yours, which was
Shoot,
Oops.
I was supposed to have
Yeah,
a pseudonym
exactly.
for this. But we don't don't need to recap old episodes. How much time do we have left on this guy?
We got 2 minutes, two and a half
You
minutes.
guys read
Vanessa,
Watchmen?
Watchmen? No, I went to Arlen's house today, which he's not there, but like I went because I needed to grab a camera, and so I
rate his comic book collection.
yeah, exactly. So I looked at a bit of Kick-Ass because I'd never read Kick-Ass before.
Yeah, nor have I.
Interesting. I only got through like a little bit of the beginning, but it
I'll
begins.
loan you Watchmen if you want. It's a good ass book. Period.
Yeah.
Like
That's what everyone says.
yeah.
I haven't read Watchmen in a long time,
Anything
and
by
I only
Alan
read
Moore.
like Alan Moore.
I mean, not that I've actually read anything else by Alan Moore.
Have you read
but
any-
I've heard that everything else by Alan Moore is great.
Have you read any like Preacher or Constantine? Any like supernatural
No, I've not.
Vertigo imprint stuff?
But I've
So good.
yeah. I
So good.
always enjoy John Constantine when he shows up in anything else. So
Well, it's so funny. Like his show, like they had a show for Constantine, and it was so unpopular. Like it just did. Well, it wasn't
wait,
like
they made a show?
yeah, and it just wasn't well known, and that's why it was unpopular. But
Damn.
like it was really good. I watched it, and then they decided to connect it into the DC TV universe.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And so he appeared in an episode of Arrow, but this was after it got canceled. This was like 2 years after the show got
But
canceled.
it's the same dude who plays
Yeah, the same
him
dude who
in
plays in
Arrow?
the show.
Super cool.
So he comes back for like one episode of Arrow.
and then
He was so popular that he came back for like 4 episodes of Legends of Tomorrow,
Yeah.
like 2 years later. And now he's main cast for Legends of Tomorrow for this upcoming season.
totally. Yeah.
Like, and I think that's really fucking cool because
Dude.
like he is super cool.
Did you see
one
the
thing that
old Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves?
I haven't. They just put
pretty
that on
good.
Netflix.
Yeah, I know. I
So,
saw it the other day. They put it back on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix like a year plus ago, and they had it on for, some period of time.
okay.
But
But
Yeah.
one thing I will say that I didn't like about the Constantine show is like Constantine. What's a really interesting concept for Constantine is he's a bisexual man,
right on.
and like it just creates interesting character development,
Yeah.
which they didn't explore in the TV show at all. Which like for for season 1 you can totally explore at least a little bit. That's the timer, but I'll talk for like 5 more seconds. And so, but for Legends of Tomorrow, they totally explore it.
Yeah.
Because they have him hitting on Captain Cold.
Or they at least hint at. Yeah. They haven't like delved into it, but they've revealed it.
And it was interesting. Anyway, that's our comics books episode. All right, stay tuned for the next topic.